Hi, and welcome to Category Management Knowledge Group's weekly Category Management Tip. If you're not familiar with CMKG, we provide category management training solutions that are driven from a foundation of accredited e-learning courses. I'm Sue Nichols, the president and owner of Category Management Knowledge Group. My team and I love everything about category management, so every week we want to share some learnings on category management related topics through our weekly tips. Today's tip relates to baseline and incremental sales, which are valuable measures to understand your category and your brand's health for both retailers and suppliers. Most organizations have some type of share and volume scorecard that's updated on a regular basis and provides them with information on how the category, brands, and segments are doing, either for a retailer or for a supplier. Here's an example of a basic scorecard. But many organizations also have access to baseline and incremental sales, but they're very underutilized and rarely seen in scorecards. In this tip, I'm going to explain to you how baseline and incremental sales are derived and how it can be used to generate new insights into your business. Baseline and incremental sales data is available through third-party data sources like Nielsen and IRI, or some retailers may have this modeling available in their POS data. Consider baseline sales to be the normal volume that you would expect week to week for a product, brand, or segment. Baseline sales are modeled through some really complex algorithms that you don't need to understand, but really it's based on anticipated sales, and these sales would have sold without any type of promotional activity. Incremental sales, on the other hand, represent the additional volume sold based on promotional activity, including things like price reductions and ad and display activity. So based on the chart that you see on your screen, weeks 1 and 6 had promotional activity because their incremental sales are so high. In net, baseline plus incremental sales equals the total volume each week. It's important to note that baseline and incremental sales are not the same as non-promoted and promoted sales, and this is where people start to get confused. So let me try to explain it to you. The graph at the top here shows the breakout of incremental versus baseline sales for each week. You'll notice that there's baseline sales week on week, and that there's usually just the sharp peaks in sales where the yellow sales are, and that's when there was some type of promotion run. This graph on the bottom shows the same data as on the top graph, but with a breakout of promoted versus non-promoted sales. As you can see, each week is either promoted sales or non-promoted sales. So if the product was promoted that week through ad, price reduction, or display, then all of the sales are allocated as promoted sales. So now let's go back to our graph that breaks out the baseline and incremental weekly sales. Remember, green is the baseline sales. They would have sold regardless of the promotion. And yellow is the incremental sales volume. That's a volume that would have not sold without the promotion, price discount, or display. A client of mine always referred to incremental sales as rented space or rented sales, because that's the volume that you're really paying for when you purchase a promotion or because of a price decline. So in analyzing the payout or return on investment on promotion, it may be valuable to measure only the incremental sales payout instead of total sales, because it's a more accurate reflection of the promotion. Those baseline sales would have sold anyways. It's also important to add in baseline and incremental sales into your scorecarding measures. Rather than just looking at total sales and volume measures, when I add in baseline and incremental sales results, I get a much better understanding of what's driving overall category results, as well as by manufacturers in this example. So I have two columns that break out the percent change on both baseline and incremental sales. This gives a much more detailed perspective than just looking at the plus 4% category growth. By understanding that incremental sales is up 33%, while baseline is slightly down, now I know that all my growth is in that least space based on promotion, price reduction, and display. This may be on or off strategy depending on whether my retailer's objective was to grow the category through promotion and price reduction, which are those incremental sales drivers, or if they were trying to do it through innovation, shelving, and in-store merchandising, which are the baseline drivers. In net, by adding in a baseline and incremental perspective into your scorecards, you're going to have a much better picture of what's driving your overall sales. The next step here would be to review the growth change across the key tactics and determine which measures help to drive those baseline and incremental sales results. If you're interested in learning more about how to maximize the use of baseline and incremental sales data, CMKG has 2 courses available in their e-learning center. We have Category Tactics and Analytics, which reviews each tactic and provides you with some of the base analytics. Measuring Category Health, Baseline, and Incremental Drivers is a more intermediate course, and it gives you in-depth analysis of baseline and incremental sales drivers, including the key measures and the analytics. If you don't have access to baseline and incremental sales in your weekly data, this course also teaches you how to create your own baseline. So that's it for this week's tip. Next week I'm going to talk about how you can establish what's in a good or a bad number. You can also visit and/or subscribe to my blog if you haven't already done so. If you're interested in category management training, please visit our website at www.cmkg.org. We have courses and programs that relate to all different topics that relate to category management, and all of our training is accredited by the Category Management Association. Finally, we're very active within the social networks, so please connect with us. I hope you enjoyed this week's tip. Have a great day.